Can I have the panelists to come to the front? Can I have the panelists to come to the front? Okay. Hello, we are going to get started. It is that time again. If I can have everyone to be seated. We're very excited to have our panelists here to give us a view from the labor market. By 2030, 70% of Michigan jobs will require post-secondary education. Success requires alignment between education, workforce policy, and industry. And this panel will be examining how Michigan can prepare men for high-demand careers, strengthen that talent pipeline we've been talking about today, and remove barriers that exist in emerging industries and entrepreneurship. So welcome, panelists. As I call your name, if you just wave your hand so they'll know who you are. But we have Charlie Tyson, who is the Technology Activation Director for Michigan's Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. We have Kevin Stotts, who's president of Talent First. We have Brian Calley, the president of the Small Business Association of Michigan. And we have Fred Hunter, CEO of Detroit PAL. So I'm just going to dive right into it. We've been having wonderful discussions all day, and I know that you're ready to go and to hear more about the labor force and our views about men having those post-secondary credentials, readying themselves for where they will be able to make a good living for them and their families. Earlier this year, Governor Whitmer signed an executive directive that focused on Michigan becoming the leader in AAM technologies. It's estimated to be a $57 billion industry by 2033. How can Michigan's education sector meaning K through 12 all the way through our post-secondary, assist with attracting and preparing more young men for these lucrative fields?
Yeah, I can start with that. I think, yep, mic's on. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I can start with that. We, at the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, have focused on more than just automotive. Obviously, automotive is really important for us here in Michigan, but we see mobility as more than just automotive. It's how we move people and goods by air, land, and water. And so we've seen over the last couple of years a big opportunity when it comes to emerging aviation or advanced air mobility. And it's really looking at things that are impacting similar to the auto industry, like electrification, advanced propulsion technologies, things to make the movement of people and goods in the airspace safer, more efficient, and better for our environment. We've really seen a couple different pillars, just providing a little background here. A couple of pillars within advanced air mobility. One, you know, I guess advanced aircraft that could be using advanced propulsion technologies, but really same type of aircraft that you would see moving cargo or people, but using new technologies to make them safer or more efficient or better for our environment. But what we're really seeing a lot of interest in and a lot of activity is drones, in low orbit drones, low elevation drones. We're seeing a lot of activity when it comes to using drones for surveillance or inspecting critical infrastructure. And we're starting to see, we're trying to help Michigan become a leader in the use of unmanned aerial systems, low orbit, low elevation, small drones to move critical goods, whether that's medical supplies or auto parts from facility to facility, for example. And we're taking a lot of steps to become a leader, and that's what this executive directive that was mentioned is poised to do. And it aligns well with the federal government's recent executive orders around establishing drone dominance in North America, obviously United States specifically, around helping drive more drone manufacturing to Michigan, and also accelerating rulemaking for what's called beyond visual line of sight drone operations. That's really what we're trying to achieve to unlock the drone industry. Although there are some uses when it comes to drones that are being used day to day, again, surveillance, surveying, inspection, et cetera. And so what we're trying to do from like a workforce standpoint is, from a K through 12, provide exposure and education, awareness of this emerging industry. We're seeing a lot of interest in youth drone demo days, providing hands-on experience for K through 12 students to experience drones, to operate them, and to learn about the potential pathways for jobs in the future. We're also seeing a lot of opportunities when it comes to connecting industry to academic institutions across the state, whether that's our larger colleges or even community colleges across the state. While we're trying to attract companies and retain and grow companies in Michigan, we're also trying to connect those companies with academic programs to help create those partnerships and potential job pathways.
So we've had a lot of conversations today about a lot of programs that have been going on trying to get more men into various types of fields, but the information not going all the way down to where the youngest of our young can understand that these are possibilities, and help them to understand this means you. I keep saying that, this means you. So what are your thoughts from an industry standpoint of how do we get them to understand this is what did I say, $57 billion industry that's wide open for anybody, so that they will know they should participate?
At the risk of oversimplifying, I mean, I think you have to be intentional and blunt about it, starting early, of course. But for much of American history, everything was dominated by males. And it was that way to the exclusion of others for so long that I think people just thought that would naturally just keep on happening. So when the work to lift others up started, I think the assumption was, well, men are already good, that will just keep on going. And I think what we've learned, especially in the last 10 years, is that that takes intentional work too. Kind of the old way of men dominating everything just kind of perpetuated itself. The world's different than that now, and so the same things that you do to ensure that women attain higher education and opportunity in the future, that same work has to be done for men and for boys as they're growing up as well. That it's not something that can be taken for granted. It's really it's a formula that is true for every gender and for every race and for every nationality, that the work has to be intentional, that this is an opportunity and this opportunity is for you.
Fred?
And I'd like to add on to that. Is this, can it be heard? Okay, wonderful. Speaking from the youth perspective, and especially, from Detroit and young people in Detroit, they just don't have awareness of, $57 billion or even $57 million industry. And I think that's where we as leaders and where we can come together to be able to do the things that we need to do to make them aware. One of the things I like listening about with the drones program. So there's expertise that we have as a sports-based youth development organization, but we've partnered with other nonprofits in the Detroit area that have other expertise. So there's a drone apprenticeship program that we've worked with for the last 3 to 4 years. So experts that understand more about where things are going are able to give kids the technology, give them pay, give them certification. So even though it's not our core in terms of what we do, finding those other partners that can expose children to what's available, and then also just make sure those opportunities for the future they're able to take advantage of.
So I have heard this over and over again. Michigan has to accelerate the attainment of post-secondary education. We know that a big gap we've been talking about are men and trying to get them involved. As business leaders, what are you hearing that is needed from our education partners to make sure that we have this steady streamline of male talent going into really the high demand, high wage jobs, or the things that are out there that need to be filled?
Yeah, I'll speak broadly about industry and our work in West Michigan, working with employers across the labor market and our partners in K-12 education and workforce development. I think one of the challenges, I think there's an intentionality by both industry and educators to kind of come together and show career pathways and jobs, but it's not an easy task. I'd say things that could be done is not just talking about jobs, but showing the career pathways from job to job and the job progression. I think a lot of people, young people, I've got a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old sons, and so I'm in these conversations with them. This is what I do, and so I'm trying to help and guide them, but not to make decisions. And I talk with them and their friends, and they have all kinds of ideas about what jobs and careers and opportunities for being wealthy are. And one of the panelists was talking about becoming a shoe model. I mean, that was a great metaphor for, I think, young men in general. They see all these messages on social media about how to become wealthy immediately, and not knowing how to get there. And I think just breaking it down in terms of jobs and careers and this job progression and how to move forward is key. Some of the things that we do in West Michigan, you have Career Quest that Michigan Works organizes in West Michigan. We have a conference and we bring educators and industry together to say, how do we make these connections purposeful, to sort of talk about what's happening in industry and the jobs and careers, so that educators can better understand and apply those to what they're doing in the classroom. And there's a lot of strategies we can do in K-12 education to sort of emphasize that, but those are a couple of things that I would say are easy ways to start to build those connections.
I would underscore that career pathway as being really important, especially when we've had this sustained period of relatively high economic performance generally in the whole country. It's kind of an unusually long period of expansion, And you can feel that definitely cooling off now. But but what happened was in the beginning part of a career, the income differential between having a credential and not having a credential, that got smaller for the first part of the career. And so the value proposition is harder to make when you say to a kid, look, yeah, you could go right into a job at this level, or you could go get a degree or credential and start at maybe a little higher, but the differential doesn't seem like it's that much. You have to buy into the longer term trajectory because, for example, with a bachelor's degree, there is absolutely no question whatsoever that that is your best bet at a life of prosperity. It's an indisputable fact. The data shows us in a way that it's very, very tangible and decisive. But you have to believe in the lifetime earnings. It's not the first few years. Where in the first few years, it's actually you got this expense and you're losing time in the work, but you feel like you're falling behind. Sometimes I think that's the problem is people feel like they're falling behind by not getting right in. I think that differential is going to change now, though, as the economy cools off and employers are at a position where they will become more selective in who they hire. You're going to see, I think, even those earlier stages of the careers, the incomes separate some, which will make the case stronger earlier for programs like Reconnect. Final thing I'll say on that is, like, when we survey our members and we ask what are your employees asking for? So these are small businesses, 33,000 small businesses in our association, and we have hundreds that participate in every survey that we do. And and what we hear consistently is that the top request, of course, is salary. Right? Salary is the number one request. But surprised a lot of people to hear that a career path is the number two. I want to know what my opportunity is in this company. And that's a powerful thing, but it requires a longer-term focus. You know, I appreciate Kevin mentioning the get-rich-quick social media schemes. You know, like that's some people get rich that way, but it's about the same chances of me becoming an NBA basketball player. I loved playing pickup basketball when I was in high school, but nobody. At that time, there was nobody that created a fantasy in my mind that was really a possibility for me. Yeah. You know, Brian, you can be anything you want to be. Not that. So, I think that's that we do a disservice sometimes. I shouldn't say we. I don't think it'd be anybody like in this room or even society at large. All of us parents are so worried about this. But I think that is one of the questions you have to figure out is how to move away from this idea that you can have everything without putting the work in. It's a big obstacle when you're trying to convince a young person to knuckle down and put in the work.
So we've been talking a lot as well about this role of trying to change the mindset of boys and men to go into the fields that were stereotypically women's fields, healthcare, education. And we know that those are where the jobs are now, especially in Michigan. What is the role of business in helping to ensure that those stereotypes are washed away? And are there any programs happening or any businesses that are doing a really good job of that?
Well, let me get, I hate to, do you guys want to talk? Okay, all right. So one, let me give you a personal example of one where men going into a field is extremely important, and that is in autism therapies for older boys with autism. Okay, this is it is so desperately needed, and it is not common to see men going into those fields. And so what happens is that the services that families need that have teenage boys with autism often go unfilled. I mean, some places literally will not serve those kids. They're difficult to handle sometimes. and that is and so that's it's not just missing out on opportunity. Like there are things that are really desperately needed. And so to get back to the broader question though that you had asked, I think business really wants to like open up their place for somehow for youth to be a part of it, to be exposed to it early, to see it early. There's so many obstacles to it, and this is what we hear every time we get people that are enthusiastic and they're ready to go, but whether it's liability of having a kid in a factory or you think about like how if you could teach geometry on a construction site, but what are the liabilities of? When I was in school, the construction class built houses. And then they would sell the house and use that to build the next house the next year. It was really cool stuff, but that's become so rare these days that it's. I think it's more important than ever to figure out how you remove the barriers to getting kids opportunities to spend time before college. I think colleges are doing a better job than they ever have of creating work experiences. There's tons and tons of examples of it. It's just harder to do for high school students, for minors.
I'll add to that. There's one example, and I think it talks about an opportunity we had a few years ago. And is Maria Franklin still in the audience? Okay, there's Maria. She's a colleague working at Detroit PAL, and for the goal of exposing young people to opportunities, we were working with a Marathon and had a chance to take kids in a van, take them to the plant, and what was great is kids don't know what they don't know. So Maria was driving around the kids, and they were just talking about careers and opportunities in that field specifically. And one of them mentioned that you can make six figures there, and to see the kids, their eyes opened up because they had no idea at a plant or refinery that those options were open. But the thing, it was kind of the fantasy that you're talking about. She had asked the three young men what do they want to be in the future, and they were convinced they were going to be professional athletes. And that so many kids you ask have that in their mind. So she said, well, okay, you'll be a professional athlete. You'll do that for 4 or 5 years. You'll be about 27, 28. What will you do next? And then they were just a pause because they were like, oh, I've got to think about something real. And then that was an opportunity, where it just opened them up to be able to talk about these other experiences as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot is where children are, how do you reach them, give them exposure, to opportunities, and be able to meet them at the level so you can show them, better pathways for them in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just add to what Fred and Brian were talking about. We've done a really good job of introducing careers, non-traditional careers, to young women and people of color where they did not see themselves before. I think it would just open up that aperture to include young men in those occupations. I think that works for everybody. So it's not a difficult change that we have to sort of make in terms of showing these different occupations and show a wide range of young people and professionals in these different roles so that someone can see that they too could work in that field if they have an interest. I think that's one. Two, we did a study a couple years ago now, but one of the key findings in terms of student engagement, especially in middle and then especially high school, was just the relevance. And I think whether it's career technical education or project-based learning, et cetera, we try, but we do a poor job of connecting what kids learn in the classroom and their academic studies to real-world application. And saying, well, if I learn math or geometry, where do I use that in the real world? And there's many ways, and there's a lot of school districts that are doing this quite well. I commend Dave Richards and the Future Learning Council for the work he's doing with about 100 plus school districts around the state. So if we could really do more to sort of create that relevance in the educational environment so the students can see, if I learn this as my academics, I can apply that in the real world. And there's a job, there's a career, I think helps to reinforce the messaging about what jobs and careers are available.
A really cool example I'd love to touch on. It's on the aviation topic, but I think it's a great example of providing K through 12 students hands-on experience and exposure. And it also kind of highlights the importance of state government and public sector, public-private partnerships in the role of the public sector in helping shepherd the large employers to be more collaborative with academic institutions and in K through 12. So the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification partnered with the Gerald R. Ford International Airport, obviously in Grand Rapids a couple years back. We also brought in Southwest Airlines. The goal really was initially to identify some of the challenges facing the airport and Southwest Airlines, whether that's airside, ground support equipment, whether it's bathrooms, parking, luggage claim, security, really the whole airport. The leadership team said, we want to open up the airport to bring in startups and entrepreneurs to essentially help us solve some challenges we're facing. So then we put together a year-round program and it brings in cohorts of startups and entrepreneurs a couple times a year to again, deploy the technology, demonstrate technology that addresses the challenges of the airport and Southwest Airlines. It's been a wildly successful and a really unique program that we've created. And thanks to our local partners at The Right Place, along with Seamless Ventures out of West Michigan, we were able to bring in the West Michigan Aviation Academy, a K through 12 aviation program right there at the airport. And so now these students, K through 12 students, are partnering with not only the airport, but also emerging technology startups that are super exciting. Hands-on experience deploying robots to move, luggage throughout the airport, disinfecting technologies, in the terminal, technology that helps identify parking availability. So this really is a unique opportunity for us to, leverage an environment. It could be the airport in this example. It could be a port, for example. It could be, a number of different environments where an employer is involved. There's an opportunity to deploy new technology to provide provide K through 12 students hands-on experience. I think it's been exciting to see the reaction we've gotten across all the partners involved.
So as I work with young men in different facets, I always hear the athlete, that's what I'm going to do. But the next one always is, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I don't want to work for anybody, and I'm going to make all the money. When we had our 21st annual Michigan Entrepreneurship Scorecard, it showed that there was a decline in performance of our business ownership. Yet women's business ownership had increased by 6%. How do we get more men to understand entrepreneurship and to be successful in that? And I'm going to ask Brian.
Yeah, thank you. And that, the scorecard report, it's always a mixed bag. It shows some things that are going well and some things that aren't. The two most concerning stats to me out of that scorecard report from 2025 was that the number of businesses going out and the number of businesses going in, those streams had crossed for the first time since the pandemic. So more companies going out of business than going in business. Hadn't fallen off, but it just somewhat crossed. And then the other big metric, the number of companies shrinking or contracting, a number of employees that they have compared to those expanding. And again, those streams had crossed. And so again, the bottom had not fallen off. It was just that the trends just looked troubling. But one area where Michigan was excelling was the 5-year survival rate of new businesses. So about 50% of businesses do not make it to nationwide to 5 years. In Michigan, 55% make it to 5 years. So that actually qualifies as a top performer in the country, which is a really important metric that we follow. And so business ownership and entrepreneurship is a really important, not just important, but essential part of our economy. And so when we have people, when people are saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, it's like that's music to my ears. And I know it's important for our economy, but you still have to know how to do something. You have to know how to create value. And that's why I think it's a misnomer to say entrepreneurship is something you do instead of education. I have been, again, I'm glasses half full kind of person generally, and I am seeing a lot of great work being done in universities on connecting technology and resources and know-how and supporting entrepreneurship. If you go back 25 years, there were hardly any entrepreneurial programs in universities, and today they're commonplace. So it's part of that infrastructure, and I think that's really important. But as you see kind of overall decline in the performance of men in a lot of areas, I don't think that it's special to any one area. It's just kind of across the board, all of the things you've seen this kind of decline in. And so I think the intentional work, and I like the way Kevin put it. I think there's a lot of truth to that it's not building new rocket ships. It's just kind of not taking any of it for granted, and kind of opening the door to everybody. It's weird to even say that, right? Because it's not. In the past, that we're talking about the people that the only door was open for. And so now, as you think about that intentional work and informing people, exposing them, and bringing them along, that it goes for boys too.
So Fred, I know that with your nonprofit, you do a lot of work with young men in a career exploration. Can you share what are some of the best practices that your organization has found to work to get young men directly into those career paths and into work?
Yeah, for us, it's a special treat. It's a 56-year-old organization, Detroit PAL, and we've served over 350,000 youth, boys and girls. And, I consider it like an acre of diamonds. This story, I think Russell Conwell, someone had a property, they were looking for diamonds, so they went all around the world, didn't find any diamonds, sold the property, but it was actually right there. And I see Detroit PAL, the city of Detroit, is really an opportunity for talent and for kids. I always view our work, we're sports-based youth development, and one of the beautiful things about sports is it attracts boys. It also attracts men who are coaches. So I was reading about the Reconnect program and the 2-to-1 ratio, and I'm thinking about, wow, Detroit PAL has 1,400 volunteers and coaches, 725 of them are men. So the opportunity we have, coming to seminars like this, learning gives us the tools to be able to give our young men and give our coaches those specific career trajectories. How we do it and what we do, we see our work is really early workforce development. We have what we call the GREAT model, GREAT. So for us, sports is a tool, but we teach G, which is goal setting, R, which is resilience, E, which is embracing the healthy lifestyle, A, accountability, and T is teamwork. So those are 5 things we focus on, but you hear our students talk about the discipline they get and the structure. So we're really taking young people ages 4 to 18 and preparing them with the soft skills that they need. And it's been a joy for me. I've worked there, worked at Detroit PAL for 25 years. So literally the children that I started working with are now having children that are in the program. But I love the stories from the alumni because they're talking about what this meant for me in my career now, how sports helped form me and prepare me. So for us, it's that broad approach in terms of what we do and how we're preparing young people for future careers. But then it's also those partnerships with Drones Apprentice or others that are experts in specific fields and getting them around those people so they can see I can be this or I can be that from that standpoint.
So from a state perspective, what are the most promising initiatives that you've seen or would like to see that you think will increase male participation in the workforce?
If you, whether it's anecdotally or you look at the data, young women coming out of high school far more purpose-driven, motivated. They have a plan, et cetera. You survey young men, and there's a lot more ambiguity. They generally don't do as well as young women in high school, and so there's a couple of factors that are kind of working against young men as they sort of leave high school and are going on to something else. So I think working directly at that ambiguity and doing more around exposure to jobs and careers and the mentorship, et cetera, for all students again, but not forgetting young men in that process, I think would help. I'm on the board of Youth Solutions. They have a program that does career education for and training for teachers in the classroom. So not guidance counselors, yes, they're included, but it's for teachers. The outcomes amongst the students of getting clarity around the value of a post-secondary education and training, kind of resetting sometimes the wrong expectations and beliefs of what they can become, like an NBA player, is really overwhelming. So as kind of an advocate for the organization, but also someone that's rooted in data and research, I look at that program and say, that's a program that should be scaled across the state. And in the state, both MiLEAP and the Department of Education has been very supportive of that initiative and a pilot, but doing more of that sort of evidence-based work where you can help teachers sort of improve their game around career education, connecting jobs and careers to what they're teaching in the classroom, can literally shift the mind of young people about what they think they're capable of and how to get there.
I'd put at the top of the list the improving the performance of the K-12 system and the success that it has. I mean, that's where the trajectory is set. The Governor's Growing Michigan Together Council had an education section that is actually finally picking up some traction, and it had within it a concept called the Michigan Education Guarantee, and it really sets it sets the definition, or the destination maybe is a better way of putting it, in a way that would move past the age-old money versus accountability, and, well, we could do this if we just have more money. Well, you already get this much money, and what have you done? Like, it's been stuck there for a long time, and that kind of like place. And I think what's been missing is defining the definition or the destination better. And the Michigan Education Guarantee, I think, is the sort of thing that people could really rally around. But if we had more success, if boys had more success in high school, they would be more successful men. I think they would matriculate more to college. They would succeed more in college. They would succeed more in careers as well. So if there was a place to push in chips, I'd say the K-12 system would be my number one.
So now I'm going to open it up to you for any questions. If you come to the mics, if you have any questions, I see someone coming now.
Hello, Jametta Lilly, the Detroit Parent Network, and so really pleased to have had both your comments, but also the comments from this morning. And so I want to make a statement, and then I'm really interested in hearing your responses, both as a phenomenal nonprofit, PAL, but also as business folks and people involved in workforce development. So we talk about our young people, and whether we're talking about trying to give them a onesie that says, yes, I'm college bound, and we do that with Detroit Parent Network, or whether we're talking about the need to be able to have children in junior high have the opportunities to be exposed and not wait until they're in the 11th or 12th grade. So I think we all in this room agree to that. But it seems to me that we're also missing something really important in our equation when we talk about young people. They're not appendages. They belong in families. So, in what ways can you talk about how you are perhaps aiming some of your supports, some of your programming to expose and assist parents, whether it's a birth parent, a foster parent, whether it's an older sibling, like through COVID now, we have older siblings, in fact, raising the children in their families. In what ways can you use your influences, programs, and even suggest policies that are intentional to bring parents into being aware, being engaged, and to be supported so they can be real champions for their children? And when parents are champions for their children, then we're going to be able to move them educationally. We're going to be able to move them in terms of economic development, which is also obviously going to be a formula for success for all of us. So I really would love to hear that from your perspectives, and particularly from business, and having been a business owner and done a lot of things that engaged in working with other partners in out-of-school time programs and others. So we'd just love to hear your thoughts about that. Thank you.
One comment for us, how we deliver on our mission is through our coaches. So Detroit PAL in partnership with Detroit Police Department and community volunteers. So we do coach training to make sure the coaches and the volunteers and the mentors are on the same page with youth development. And as we're working on our sessions with coaches and looking at improvements, everybody on the leadership team recognize that we've got to get the parents. Because one of the biggest challenges in sports for coaches is parents, but you've got to be able to engage them and reach them. So right now we're strategically planning for us, how do we involve the parents? Because you don't want to have the program and what you're trying to affect in the children and the positivity and the positive sandwiches and those things, and they go home and they get different messages. In the same way as we're working for moving males forward, the opportunities that are there, we want to reinforce that. So for us, we're looking at those strategies for parent training, parent engagement on top of what we do as a key way to move things forward.
I'll jump in to say I couldn't agree more with all of the sentiments that you shared, that there's only a certain amount of success that can be had with kids if it's not a family affair. And that's, I can't really, like in terms of the association, Small Business Association of Michigan, we do compliance education and peer-to-peer learning and that sort of thing. We don't have kids or parent programming and that sort of thing to point to, but it is what we do find ourselves now getting earlier and earlier into the process. And there was a time when K-12 education wasn't like a main thing on the agenda. Now it is like what we consider the top thing. In childcare being another, early childhood education. These are things that business associations of the past, they weren't even on the radar screen, and now they've become very prevalent because it's an investment in the future. So I don't want to pass myself off as certainly not an expert on those family dynamics, but to reinforce and recognize that if you don't have that supporting everything that we're talking about here, the penetration is going to be far less than its potential.
Yeah. We don't focus specifically on a parent strategy, but I think our work generally sort of supports empowering parents to help their children sort of make these decisions as they're kind of going through and exploring what they should do after high school. I would say a couple of things that is important is really talking about sort of in-demand jobs and careers. We're talking with Sarah Gammons earlier. I surveyed, I asked my son, who's 20, graduated 2 years ago from high school, I'm like, what would have really helped you? Because he's now switching his major from going to college and now going into a trade. And he said, I wish I could have had some sort of personality or interest assessment to help me understand where I might be most satisfied in terms of a job and career. I think parents know that inherently, but if we're arming them with more information, I think that helps to have the parent and the child have a more robust conversation. So I think, improving that sort of counseling and support and helping the students kind of explore their options and understand that is the best way we can help parents, therefore helping their kids make good informed decisions. I also think that we're still stuck in this sort of college for all mentality. And I agree with any sort of post-secondary education is valuable. But I think we need to kind of think about, you got to do something after high school, but what that is, be it a traditional 4-year or 2-year education, a trade, et cetera, that's all some sort of valuable post-secondary credential. And I think kind of working on that messaging for parents and kids in high school, I think is critical. Thank you for your question.
I really appreciated this panel, and I really agree with you, Brian, about the K-12 space. Again, I'm Aisha Walters from Western Michigan University. And so when I look at the K-12 space, we're still teaching as Horace Mann, who is the father of the modern education system. We're still teaching that way. And it's not that we shouldn't focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic, but really that industrial, like, I'm going to tell you how things go, walk in a straight line, raise your hand. And so sometimes that is just, especially for young men, that is very joy depleting. And I speak from a perspective of, I have 2 kids, a daughter and a son. My daughter is just down the street at MSU. As you had mentioned, purpose-driven. She's in Broad. She's studying business. She's doing marketing. She's doing all that other stuff. My son is almost 15 years old. He's a freshman in high school. And I have to admit, I am concerned. I'm like, what do you like? What do you enjoy besides playing soccer? But I also know that he is gifted and he has a gifted brain. But I think because of how the school is set up, although he does really well, he's a 4.0 student, he just is bored. And so when he tells me, oh, I'm not going to college, I'm like, you are just sitting and you are like speaking stuff because we are college educated people in this house. But just figuring out what is the lane for him. And so as you all were speaking, one of the things that came to mind was that there is just an understanding gap about what the career or workforce industry looks like now, because we are still teaching the old way, and then we're expecting kids to, like, by osmosis, know what they have to do, and that's why they're not eligible or qualified to take on some of these things. And so really thinking about how can, when you talk about private, public, government partnerships, even education, honestly, I moonlight as a school board member, and I wish my superintendent and school district was here, because I'm like, when we talk about understanding gap, I think teachers don't know even how to fill the gap to bring in or even introduce. And so for someone like my son, who is really interested in architectural design, and so he is a Roblox create type of kid, when we have researched what community colleges offer these things, there's nothing in Michigan. And so if we're talking about these things, and the whole idea of going into manufacturing is just dream killing. Like, I'm not gonna work on an assembly line. I wanna be creative. And so what kind of things can we all do collectively? Because there's kids who just don't fit in that mold of, I'm just gonna go, work at, manufacturing job or do skilled trades. And there's some who are gifted to go to college, but they need it in between. And right now, there's not really a pathway for them. And so how can we work together to bring these voices, to create those hidden things that more kids are probably interested in, but there's no place for them currently here in Michigan?
Maybe I'll start, and I'll allow the panelists to chime in as well, probably with a more qualified answer. I wanted to comment, I think it'd be, if there's any way we could try to crush the stigma around blue collar jobs or manufacturing, or how do we make manufacturing cool again? Seriously, if you don't have to be a software engineer to have a fruitful career building something. Michigan is a place where we build things, and we need to do more of that and continue to do so. And very open to the panelists' thoughts and others, and how we can help kind of change that narrative. It's okay to pursue certificate programs or it's cool to be able to build something here in Michigan and to create a job, create a career pathway, whether it's you're an entrepreneur or working for a small, medium-sized business that's building things in Michigan. I think that, unfortunately, right now, that's not a cool job path, but I think it should be.
There's kids, because they have access to these, think that they know what the world has to offer. Because they see a lot more of the world, but really they know nothing. And yeah, there's but that's the thing is like, I wish that it could, you talk about those big questions. What can we as a society do? Make it okay to not land your dream job the first thing out of college, okay? I mean, like this whole idea about like a kid knows what their dream job is. They don't know anything. They've not been exposed to enough to know what their dream job is. They've got this narrow kind of look at the world. And so the way that I wish that we could approach it, and I think it does kind of dovetail into this concern about like we've got this assembly line of an education system, that really if you show up and work hard and you do your best at whatever the thing is, even if you're not that excited about that opportunity that's with you right now, if you have it in yourself to like give it your all, your best at whatever's around you, then that creates opportunities. It makes you stick out. I always tell, every once in a while I'm fortunate enough to speak to a graduating class at a university or a high school, and that's always my, you want the secret to success in life? Show up on time and try your best. That's really it. That's what makes you stick out. That's what creates opportunities. They're saying, wow, I want to invest in this person. Who knows where it's going to go from there? But this thing, like there's so much pressure. We start asking kids what they want to do with their life, really, like by the time they become seniors, they've been asked that question 1,000 times. And it's pressure, like they feel like, am I supposed to have everything figured out? And really the answer is no, you don't need to. You need to have a plan for the next stage in life. When I was one of these, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Get this, there was no way I was staying in Michigan, though. That was for sure. That was 100%. 100% there was no way I was going to stay in Michigan. When I was 17, you know what happened? I met this girl. And then, but then, you know what? And then I got this part-time job at a bank, and 10 years later, I'm a commercial loan officer. There was never a time in my mind. It wasn't like when I was 5 years old, I thought, someday I just wish I'll be a banker. No 5-year-old ever thought that. Not even the kids of bankers think that. But ended up being just a wonderful career that created a whole trajectory. I made a career change after banking to get into politics. That was one of my choosing. And then I wanted to stay in politics, and I got out, and that was not of my choosing. And so there was, but you know what it did is it opened up a whole nother, like world of opportunity that wasn't even on my radar screen. And I got to say, it's better. The quality of my life is way better than Gretchen Whitmer's. I promise you. It is. And it's and yet this is something that when I was 17 years old, I had absolutely. The idea of it, what's an association? I don't even know what an association was at that point. So I think that's the thing. Show up and do your best. Take care of the space that's around you. Try to learn from other people, and like this attitude of carrying that into your life will create opportunity, and just remove the pressure of having your retirement planned out when you're 17.
Let's give our panel a wonderful applause. This was a great view about our labor market and about what we need to be doing to create the pipelines, removing barriers, and ensuring that Michigan's men thrive, as well as our communities. As we come to a close, I want to say thank you to those who put this together. Thank you to those who are here, who have listened, and thank you to those who will act, because that is the most important thing as a part of this discussion. This is the first of many different things that we'll be doing throughout the year, and the year for us goes all into 26, okay? We keep saying the year. This is the kickoff, but we're going to be continuing on for the rest of the year, providing these opportunities, providing hopefully strategies, and trying to create a plan for Michigan to move men forward. Remember, it is not a zero-sum game. It is all about rising Michigan together. Thank you so much. Oh, hey, good to see you. I'm glad you attended.
Yeah, this was
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
Brilliant. I printed out Gretchen's State of the State, the passage where she talked about men, and then the exact same quote that
Okay, so was this?
yeah. So this is really
I'm so
expanding
glad
our
you-
lens.
That's right.
Great job.
Thank you. Make sure we get together, though.
Yeah.
I know you wanted to get together, so
Yeah. Do you want to send me dates?
it's better if you send me, and then I make it fit. Okay.